Good afternoon. My name is Juliana Hofbauer. I'm a retired teacher from Toronto. And I actually have two questions, if I could possibly ask them. The first one, has anyone investigated the specific things that disturbed Our Lady of Fatima in 1917 when she said that World War I would end and that another, much more terrible war would follow if people would not convert? Surely such an investigation would uncover some of the original or root causes of our present-day social ills and give all of us an indication of what Our Lady wants each of us to do.
Our Lady in 1917 said, and I agree with what you're saying, but I want to add something that you might have missed, which I think is crucial. Our Lady said, this war will soon end, and if mankind does not amend, another war worse than this will come about. She then spoke about war, famine, persecution of the Church, and persecution of the Holy Father. And she said, to prevent these chastisements, to prevent this, I will come to ask for the communions of reparation on the first Saturday, and I will come to ask for the consecration of Russia. So, I'd like to point out something that, which is very, first of all, the law of grace is much more important. We cannot, first of all, be good without grace. As the Council of Trent, which is surprising to me when I studied the Council of Trent, said we can easier, well, my way of putting it is, you can easier live normally without breathing than you can be good without grace. Grace is so necessary. So, and all grace comes to us through the Blessed Virgin. So Our Lady says that mankind has to amend. That's right. But of course we can't amend without grace. And Our Lady says to prevent these chastisements, which are because of man's sin, war, famine, persecution of the Church, persecution of the Holy Father, to prevent this, I'm going to ask for two things. And it seems that it's like out in left field to say, well, what have these two things got to do with stopping wars and so forth? And she asked for the communion of reparation, which she explained as confession, communion, praying 5 decades of the Rosary and 15 minutes meditation, doing those 4 things with the intention of making reparation. And the other one is for the Pope to do the Pope and the bishops together to do the consecration, which she explained again in 1929. So if those 2 things were done, we would not have had World War II. We would not have had the Korean War. We would not have had the invasion of Iraq, Iran. We would not have the Twin Towers. You wouldn't have any of that had the consecration of Russia been done. Now, are we saying that, yes, these things are whoever caused these things, whether it was one or the other or the third, whoever caused them is ultimately caused by sin. Our Lady told Jacinta, war is a punishment for sin. So there are some sins that are more egregious to God than others. And certainly, knowing what those things are, certainly the First World War, I believe some private revelations have said it's blasphemy, and certainly Our Lady of La Salette spoke about the not keeping holy the Sabbath day. And blasphemy, I think, is a second one, and there may be a third. And certainly other revelations and other saints and holy people at that time have spoken in the same light. And certainly the offenses against God, as bad as offenses against God, man are, the offenses against God are worse. So those, but to prevent all of this, all we need is one man and 4,000 other men to consecrate Russia, and it's all over. We have peace given to us. Or all you need is 180 men to elect a pope who makes that his program to consecrate Russia. Either way, once you have the consecration of Russia, and all the Pope has to do is to promise the Blessed Virgin that Pope, will promote the 5 First Saturday devotion upon the conversion of Russia. He doesn't have to do anything other than that. Consecrate Russia, publicly and solemnly. It's a prayer of 5 minutes. He says it publicly with the bishops. They can all be in one place. They can be in their own cathedrals. They say it takes, we spent billions and if not trillions of dollars on wars. We've lost, in the 20th century, we lost, Russia alone, they've killed over 100 million of their own people. And talking about everybody else, we've lost, and with the Holocaust of the unborn, which is really not the right term for it because it's the religious Holocaust, the religious sacrifice, as a Jewish writer points out, the so-called Holocaust of 6 million is not the right term because it's not a religious event. It is, but the death and the suffering of these 50 million babies every year We're up to almost 1 billion babies being sacrificed in abortion in the last 20, 30 years. All of this can be prevented and would be prevented as soon as the Pope and the bishops do the consecration. That will bring about the grace from the Blessed Virgin. And our Lord was asked by Lucy, why will not bring about conversion of Russia? Why will not give us peace without this consecration? And our Lord answered, because I want my whole church to recognize that consecration as a triumph of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Thereby, later on, that my church places devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary beside my Sacred Heart. And he's not going to change his plan. We don't deserve what he wants to give us. And St. Augustine tells us there are certain graces God will not give to us except through the intercession and the merits of the saints. We don't deserve it. God won't give it. He will only give it through the merits of the Blessed Virgin, and he won't give it to us without her getting the credit. That's why he's laid down the condition. Consecrate Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, then you'll have conversion Russia, then you'll have world peace. No other way. Your choice. I think this choice is simple, but apparently after 33 years I've not explained it properly. I hope I did today. Thank you.